So OurSay is a pretty interesting project. It's a social enterprise, so we're trying to make the world a bit better. It's an online platform where people can get on there and ask decision makers the hard questions. And so we then go and get the answers off those decision makers. So you log on, you get on there, you ask a question, you get your friends to vote for your questions, and then the top couple of questions get put to the decision maker. And the kicker is the decision makers commit to answering the questions before they know what the top 3 questions are going to be. So they have to answer the top couple of questions, and that can be really interesting. You get situations where a local MP has to go find out about their party's policy on caffeinated drinks, which is not generally something they get asked every day. We started really after the 2 state elections ago, when we were pretty disappointed with the quality of the debate that was going around and the kind of conversations that were being had. Wasn't really very reflective to the issues that we thought were important and should be discussed. And so we thought, online is a really good way to kind of bring these 2 worlds together. Let's bring people back into this decision-making process. Let's bring them back into communication with these leaders. And so OurSay was born out of that, really. So some of the challenges that we faced really were around team and understanding the product itself. The team itself was interesting to set up because you're working in an area that doesn't necessarily have much prior work done in it. And so you need people who are good at community engagement, you need people who are good at politics, you need people who are good at leader wrangling, you need people who are good at technology. You need all these people involved, otherwise it's not going to work. And getting those people together and getting them trucking towards the same destination can be a challenge too sometimes. Luckily for us, all the people involved in the project were really passionate about having a conversation about something instead of conversations about nothing in that political space. So the other big challenge that we really faced was around explaining our product, explaining the thing that we had. It's deceptively simple, but it appears really complex sometimes. You've got questions, you've got votes, you've got leaders, you've got people. How do they all mesh together? And so figuring out the answers to the questions like, who do we serve? Okay, well, we serve leaders. We're trying to help them understand what citizens want, what the people want. And questions like, who's got the power in this relationship? How does that work in this online platform? They can be complicated, but once you get the answer right, it makes it much easier to explain what you're doing. So I think there were maybe 3 key turning points for OurSay in particular. The first was getting some seed funding. And actually, interestingly, not for the money itself. The seed funding was really valuable because somebody else believed in us. It wasn't just us that believed in us. And that was really powerful, and it made us really think about the project as something that we were going to spend a decent chunk of time on and really commit to as a team. So I think that was really powerful. More traditionally, the first sale is always really rewarding, and in the different businesses I've done, the first sale is always a really big milestone. With SquareWeave, we made our first sale and it was a little e-commerce store, and we thought we'd achieved the world, just with this tiny little sale. The third milestone, I suppose, was really starting to see the platform take care of itself. So when people were on the platform asking questions and voting for questions and we didn't know who they were, that was really powerful, because then all of a sudden it had a life of its own. And so people were coming from near and far to ask questions of these leaders, and all we were doing was facilitating now, instead of harassing our friends to get on there and ask questions. The best way to get traffic. The best way to get traffic to a site when you're first starting out is to go and talk to a lot of people. It's actually offline. It's going to meetups, it's going to social drinks, it's going to co-working spaces, it's having coffees with other business owners, it's talking to other web companies, it's all those kinds of things. That's really the best way to get traffic to your site really early on. I think too many people, although things like AdWords and online advertising and things like that are quite important and can be used really well, at the start you need a lot of engagement with your customers to really figure out what's working and what's not working. And so if you're talking to them personally and getting them signed up right then and there on their laptop sitting next to them, you can learn a lot about what's working in your platform and what's working in your business and elements of your business model that are going to work and not work, as well as getting new people along to your site. So it's interesting because I think the social media channels are really dependent on the product that you have. So for OurSay, I would say probably Twitter has been the most important social media channel, but that's very different from, say, SquareWeave, where LinkedIn is the most important social media channel. And then Grace, definitely Facebook is the most important social media channel. So it depends a lot on the kind of business that you have. And ultimately, it depends on how people are going to engage with your brand and your organization and your business. So if you've got people who are in a very work environment and that's the kind of relationship they're looking for, that's really, like the Squarewave example where you're building larger web applications, then you really need that professional relationship. And so the context of LinkedIn works really well. For our say, because it's more journalistic in nature, Twitter works quite well. And so you've got this curated content kind of thing going on.